The situation with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the start of January may not be the most spectacular in terms of grand moves, but it's clear that the team's management is staying attentive to every detail, especially when it comes to strengthening the roster with experienced and skilled players. General Manager Brad Treliving, who has shown great control over the team, is preparing for an important move that could shift the team's course this season, at least in terms of defensive depth. And this move has a name: Dakota Mermis. For those who haven't been following closely, Mermis' story with the Leafs started off a bit rocky. The defenseman, who was signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs in early July 2024 to a one-year contract, was expected to help bolster the team's defense, especially with his experience in professional hockey. However, things took a different turn when, in early December, Mermis was placed on waivers to be sent to the Toronto Marlies, the team's AHL affiliate. Despite the attempt to send Mermis to the Marlies, the Toronto Maple Leafs ended up losing the player to the Utah Hockey Club, who quickly seized the opportunity and claimed the defenseman. It was a tough blow for the Leafs, who had hoped to rely on Mermis to continue providing veteran presence for the Marlies' defense, where he could contribute with his hockey knowledge. However, Mermis' stint with the Utah Hockey Club didn't last long. The defenseman played just one game before being placed back on waivers, and now the Toronto Maple Leafs have the chance to bring him back into the fold. The opportunity arose because, after his time with Utah HC, Mermis was once again placed on waivers, but with a specific destination in mind: the Tucson Roadrunners, another AHL team. If the Toronto Maple Leafs are the only team to place a claim on Mermis, he can immediately be sent back to the Marlies without having to go through another waiver process. This is because Mermis had originally left the Toronto Maple Leafs via the waiver system. Therefore, it's a golden opportunity for the team in Toronto to reclaim a player who was signed to bring added strength to the AHL defense, and thus bolster their options, without facing any major bureaucratic obstacles. Brad Treliving, the Leafs GM, has clearly shown interest in bringing Mermis back, and the reason is simple: Mermis plays a crucial role, particularly in the Marlies' defense. As mentioned, the 30-year-old player has a wealth of experience, with 75 NHL games under his belt, but the majority of his career has been spent in the AHL. This makes him a locker room leader and a solid presence for the young talent that makes up the Marlies' defense. In a season where the AHL serves as a breeding ground for players who may eventually contribute to the main team, having a veteran like Mermis is crucial. His role as a mentor for younger defenders is of utmost importance, as he can help shape the future of younger players while still maintaining a competitive level of play. But, to be honest, those who follow the Maple Leafs closely know that the team's situation in the NHL has been more focused on finding solutions for a group of players that still needs more consistency, particularly in the most critical moments of the season. The injuries to key players and the lack of options to fill in the defensive gaps, when the team faces challenges with the health of the roster, places added pressure on the decisions made by management. Mermis' role, when called up to the NHL, was exactly to fill one of those gaps. When the team faced a series of injuries that affected the roster depth, Mermis was a temporary solution, called up to play while Toronto needed help. However, he wasn't able to stay for long in the NHL and eventually returned to the Marlies, where his impact is more significant. Now, with the possibility of bringing him back to the Marlies, Treliving seems to be making the right choice, as the Toronto team needs stable options on its defensive depth chart, especially when the future of other younger players is still uncertain. While the NHL features many stars and top-tier athletes, the quiet work of veterans like Mermis in the minor leagues should not be underestimated. Moreover, Mermis could also have a broader leadership role in a potential return to the NHL if the team requires him later on in the season. Even if his immediate return doesn't mean a direct impact in the NHL, having an experienced and capable defenseman like Mermis available to Toronto is always an advantage, particularly when the team needs to deal with the inevitable injury marathon that comes over the course of a long and grueling season. Brad Treliving is clearly not leaving anything to chance. He knows that the pursuit of defensive stability, whether with the main team or with the Marlies, is essential for the success of the team in any competition. The fact that Mermis can be reintegrated into the Toronto system is an opportunity that Treliving certainly won't let pass. And with the Toronto Maple Leafs closely watching the situation, Mermis' future with the team seems promising. For Leafs fans, who eagerly await every move of the team, seeing a veteran like Mermis return to the organization could be a sign that Treliving is doing everything possible to ensure the team is always prepared for any challenge. Even if the Leafs don't need him immediately in the NHL, having him available in the AHL provides more depth and an additional option should the need arise in the future. Ultimately, what matters most is the long-term vision of the Leafs management. By bringing Mermis back, Treliving is not just solving an immediate problem, he is keeping the organization well-stocked with talent across all its levels, with a clear strategic plan in mind. For Leafs fans, this only confirms one thing: the work is being done the right way, and the Maple Leafs are once again preparing for what lies ahead. As the NHL season progresses, the importance of depth across all positions becomes even more apparent. For a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, where expectations are high every year, having a solid pipeline of players who can step in when needed is crucial. While the team's primary focus is on its NHL roster, the AHL is a critical piece in developing future talent and providing seasoned players like Mermis the chance to mentor younger prospects. This is especially important in a season as demanding as this one, where injuries and fatigue will inevitably test the roster's resilience. It's easy to overlook the value of players like Mermis, who might not be the flashy stars but offer something that is just as important: experience. At 30 years old, Mermis brings a wealth of knowledge that is invaluable to the Marlies, who have several promising young defensemen looking to develop into key pieces of the Leafs' future. With his 75 games in the NHL, Mermis has seen a fair share of high-pressure situations, and he knows what it takes to play at the top level, which he can pass on to his AHL teammates. While Mermis may not have had the chance to establish himself as a regular in the NHL, he has been an important figure in the development of younger players in the AHL. His return to the Marlies would give the team a dependable veteran to help guide and shape the defense core, which can only benefit Toronto in the long run. For a team that's constantly looking to balance youth and experience, Mermis is a key figure in that equation, bridging the gap between promising rookies and seasoned NHL players. In recent years, the Maple Leafs have seen the fruits of their AHL development, with players like Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin making the jump to the NHL and contributing significantly to the team's success. These young defensemen have benefited from the support and mentorship of players like Mermis, who can offer insights on the defensive game, positioning, and overall hockey IQ. Having such guidance helps smooth the transition from the AHL to the NHL, where the stakes are significantly higher. One of the challenges the Leafs have faced over the years is building a team that can not only compete for a championship but also weather the ups and downs that come with the grind of an 82-game season. Injuries, suspensions, and fatigue are constant threats to any team's stability, and the Leafs are no exception. This is where depth becomes a game changer. Having a player like Mermis available to step into the NHL lineup or continue his development in the AHL is exactly the kind of foresight that helps a team stay competitive over the long haul. Toronto's approach to player development has been focused on building a robust system from the bottom up. The Marlies have long served as the testing ground for the next generation of Leafs players, and they are expected to continue being a key part of the team's strategy moving forward. By bringing back experienced players like Mermis, Treliving is ensuring that the Marlies will remain competitive and that the players there have the guidance they need to eventually step up to the big league. While Mermis' time in the NHL was brief, it wasn't without its lessons. His stint with the Leafs allowed him to experience the rigors of playing at the highest level, and that experience will only enhance his ability to help the Marlies defensemen refine their skills. It's important to note that, despite his relatively short tenure with the Leafs, Mermis has the unique ability to provide tangible value to both the Marlies and the Leafs. His role may be more behind the scenes, but it is no less vital to the success of the organization as a whole.